It's that from Yerushalmi Shekalim article also additional Daf Tes Zayin Omer Afra Etap Lishmo Shalishmo, which in the Vilna Yerushalmi is towards the end of Yudam Rav, and in the Vilna Bavli Yerushalmi it's 9 lines from the end of Vav on base. And we're going to go to the Girsas Agra here, which is actually the way we learned it. We learned the parallels in Psachim Parakei Halacha Beis, where we actually took the Girsa according to the Gra from Shekalim and used it there in the Gemara in Pesachim, and the Chaim goes to the Girsa Gra as well. Now you have to go to Pesach. Lishmo, Shlo Lishmo, Yishechted, Lishmo, and Shlo Lishmo. B'Shai Moshe Shana, other days of the year. It's not Pesach. Rabbi said, let's go with the Gra here. It's true, you started Lishmo, right? But since then you went to Shelo Lishmo. Nasa b'kishechet b'shtika. It's like you shechted in silence. V'shelo Lishmo v'kosher. In other words, the fact that you said start Lishmo, that doesn't matter, because then afterwards you went to Shelo Lishmo, and if you shechted it b'shasika with silence and Shelo Lishmo, and the Shelo Lishmo trumps the Lishmo, and it's changed to a Karmid Shlomit to what it's supposed to be. And as Rabbi Chaim explains, because if you shechted it silently and then he says Shelo Lishmo, it's kosher, even though Stama would be L'Shem Pesach, so it's as if you began shechting it L'Shem Pesach, right? And then you changed it. So here too, if you even said explicitly Lishmo, it's no different than shechting b'shasika. It's like stam lishmo. Lishmo is also lishmo, and then it's just like shlo lishmo can come and undermine the shasika and make it now kosher shlamim. The shlo lishmo can come and undermine the lishmo with which you started, even you made it explicit, and make it now a shlamim. So the Quran changes the gears in the next section too, but the Reb Chaim doesn't. It's not 100% necessary. So let's see if we can get away without it. So Amar Lei. So Rabbun said to Yeshua bar Abba, that's what Moshe says. Rabbun said to Yeshua bar Abba, in case that's the case, afilu shachta lishmo, even if you did a shchita to lishmo, and then you only change it lizok dama shlo lishmo, right? In order to that, you had in mind the shchita speaking lishmo, and you had in mind the zrika would be shlo lishmo. Yes, and it should be that should work. Also, Mishori Kishokto Lishmo, Vishalo Lishmo, Yishech Lishmo, Vishalo Lishmo. Here, the Gra takes out the word Bishasika. Like I said, Reb Chaim leaves it in. You go either way. It's the same thing. Kosher, and it should be kosher. It's Zrika, and this has to do with the Suya Mechashmi Avodah La'avodah. So Rabbi Yechon is able to be mechashev from the avodah of zrika to the avodah of shchita, and it should make it kosher, because if lishmo is b'shchita makes it okay, lishmo b'shchita and lishmo is zrika should also make it okay as well. If you look at Takan Charatin, and if you look at even more in the art scroll in note 4, you'll see there's the whole Sugim Psachim, which if you want, you go back to our Shurim Psachim and listen there. That was the Machlekes Shlokish Rabbi Yechon with Mechashim Avodah La'avodah by is effective, not effective. Here the Gemara didn't really get into it, but that's the question is based on that discussion there. That if it Mechashev Avodah Avodah, so it should also work to be Mechashev to be Machshir Korban Pesach Shlo Bismano, right? If the question is if Korban Pesach Bismano doesn't work for a prize, make a problem. But Korban Pesach Shlo Bismano is going to be effective. Could be Mechashev Avodah Avodah to actually make it Shlo Lishmo, which is what he wanted to do, and make it there for a kosher korban. Okay, so Mara doesn't really answer it. The article says the next statement is an answer, but I don't like Korban. It's really a general question. Mara says, Amar b'shtika kosher, no b'shtika apostle. Says Korban Eda, Mekor the Dina Kasha. There's a question on the halacha itself, which you just took as a premise. Who says that's true? No, remember the shach b'shtika kosher. I know the shach b'shtika. If you start b'shtika, it's okay, and then as long as you revert to Lishmo afterwards. Oh no, Marbina Lakim Mishum Pesach. Maybe you have the Okra Pesach from moment number 1. So therefore, the Kach B'Shtika Apostle, who says B'Shtika is kosher, maybe it's Shastika, you start B'Shtika, it's no good. maybe you have to start off with the Shlo Lishmo. And where does that side as well? Okay, again, the article learns about Mori is an answer, but Pesach we learned it's a separate question, and here too we're learning a separate question. And then Chaim's learning similar, but he says, adds on, he says, and certainly where you start off Lishmo, it should be even worse. So maybe Shlo Lishmo afterwards, it's too late. Okay, but the Gemara leaves this unresolved. Okay, now the Gemara goes on to the next issue, which is in our Mishnah, as the Korban says, Vusha Karva, Amasisika is going to Mishnah. I heard it on that which in Mishnah, Mosar Nazir on the Dava, whatever's left over Nazir, it goes to Dava. So he says, our Gemara is going to say it's specifically where the Chatas comes at the end. Shanazir may be Shlosha Behemos. Nazir brings 3 animals. Chatas, Olo, Shlomim. And it can be in whatever order. When the Chatas came last, so then whatever money's left over is Havale Mosa Chatas. So whatever's left over is Chatas is L'Dava. So that's what it says. Rav Chisda Marbush Karva Chatas Basov. I'm Karva Shlem Basov. If the Shlomim it came at the end, so then the Mosar left over funds are Shlomim, which of course Nadava is an Ola, but the Shlomim. So if it's Mosar Shlomim, it will come not as an Ola but as Shlomim. Amar Rabbi Zir says no. I feel Karva Shlom Basov. Even the Shlomim came last. Halacha Achas Ibn Nazir. There's a specific halacha. The Gra takes out the word Achas. I don't know if you have to, so we can't take it out. No, he does not. Okay. Allah me Allah much misinai. Shetei Mosar Nadava, that the extra is Nadava, goes for Olas Nadava. It doesn't go to even the Shlomo's Korban Basov. Masisim beside them. We have a brisa which goes like each one of these opinions, assisting them. Now, in order to probably understand the first raya for Rabbi Zir, we have to learn what important point Reb Chaim makes based on the Bavi and Nazir, which I believe is clearly shot here in the Yerushalmi as well, which is everybody agrees that there's a local much saying that most Lumim, where it was undifferentiated, there's goes Linadava. In other words, you had a pile of money, the Nazir separated, and now he died. The most is Nadava. Even though the Mei Shlomim is still in the pot. The machlok is only when he took out the Mei Chatas from the Moses Shlomim. So it's going to have Chisda, well, then Mosar can be Shlomim. And whereas going to have Zira, it's still Mosar Nadava. And evidently Rava says that in the Bavli and Nozir there. So if that's the case, the question is, what it's really a case where you moved the Mei Chatas, where that retains the din of Moses Sumim, that would be a raya for Rabbi Zira, or we now can say the Mosar and the Shlomim, which case it would be a raya to Rav Chisda. So Mastisim Sar Rabbi Zira. Mastisa, this price is Rabbi Zira. It says everybody changes that. It says I feel it change it to Elu. Elu ain't Moses Sumim. What's Moses Sumim? Koshin mechatos mistos muravasban. Anytime there's the mechatos misos, in other words, the halacha is the owner of the chatos dies, Nazir died, so the money there's money of chatos, which is murav now. It's not designated, so therefore you can still make an adava, but the chatos would die if it had been separated. So therefore, it's mechatos muravasban. Most Lumim Yochel Nadava. Va'afrilu hifrish the mechatos. But here's the right for Rabbi Zira, because it says even if you separated the mechatos, it's not there anymore, right? So it's all it's all left over is the money for Shlomo and Ola. Still, afilu mechatos misas mitzoicha. Most Lumim. It's still most Lumim, and that's a right for Rabbi Zira that the Mosar is Nadava no matter what. Then we have a price which goes over Rav Chisda. Elu Chatasi, the Nazir separates the Mechat. It says Elu Chatasi. The the rest of it is from the rest of Mazirus. Umes, and then he died. Moel Mekulan, so then you only moil if you abuse whoever takes the money which is left there and use the money inappropriately. If you moil the entire sum. Fame only makes us and not a part of them. Why is that? So it says Moshe, L'shar korbanos zizutzi lo shlamim umeis molim b'kulam havika to make ola b'neim. Since by ola there's mila vein molim b'sasim, but you have to moil all of them, not part of them. You can make out shel shlamim him, because if you only moil part of them, you can say that that the money was shlamim money. Shlamim like a meila if nezer kasdom, and shlamim there's no halacha meila before it's because adam. So we see here that the Mosar, once the Mechad is removed, the Mosar can be Shlomim. And that's why it's only Meila if you're moiling the entire amount, not a partial amount. As he says again, doesn't say if they die, all go to Nadava, which case it'll be Meila. If it all went to Ola, so then it'll be Meila even part of the sum, not just the whole sum, because it's all going to Ola anyway. Okay, what's the topic of Nazir? So let's go on to another aspect of Nazir Shemes. Actually, not Nazir Shemes. Nazir, I take that back. There's money left over from buying the bread of a Nazir. You're okay that, well, I guess it's flour left over, actually. Then it has to rot, and maybe the Nazir did die. And that's what's left over. So either there's flour left over, or the Nazir died and the bread is left over. But in any event, it has to rot. Rabbi said, makes sense. To sacrifice it as a nadava, you can't. There's no such thing. Right? There's no such thing as a Minchas Nazir coming as an Adava. Doesn't work. So the given this is Acheros Einat Yochel. And to bring it, say, okay, another Nazir should use it, that you can't do either. Shein L'chol Nazir's Babel Lechem. There's no Nazir's that bread. The Korban explains it. B'tchiluk Shekibel Nazir's Atzmo, L'schayv Levi Lechem Shel Atzmo. Each Nazir has to bring the bread of his own funds. He can't use somebody else's bread. Okay, from Kein Tzarech L'meimar. Therefore, we have to say, Most Lachma Shel Nazir Yeira Cave. The whatever's left over from the bread of the Nazir has to rot. Okay, but besides bread, there's also nesachim, wine and oil. So what about them? So, Zmara says, something maybe they thought the same, who most are lachim, who most are nesachim. The same thing which applies to the bread applies to the nesachim. It has to rot. Rebbe said, no, most of the Nesachim, Kachay Kachim. The most of the Nesachim, they're Kachay Kachim. And since the Kachay Kachim Inu, they are Kachay Kachim in the Nidava, they can go to Nidava. Now, before buying the bread, we could tell you about bread mamish. That's a usual Lashavir cave. It could be going on the money as well. It's not clear from the word, but I think if the money was set aside for the bread of the Nazir, so it has to go to Yam HaMelech. But here the Rambam, when he brings down this halach of Nesachim, he says most are domain Nesachim, not most of Nesachim themselves, because the way he worked with Nesachim is that it wasn't made ahead of time. The bread was made ahead of time, so it could be that there's bread left over, or the Nazir died in the middle, and therefore the bread is left over after it was baked. But the Nesachim, they measured out on the spot. Well, you gave money to the Beis HaMikdash, and they measured out your Nesachim on the spot. So we're not talking about leftover actual oil and wine. This is what I'm talking about the main Nesachim, and saying that the main Nesachim just like the main, any other kachim, and it's not designated. It wasn't yet converted, so to speak, into the wine or oil, and therefore that can go to, just like most of chatas is nedava, so to most of ashim is nedava, most of any kachim is nedava. Therefore, that leftover money can be used in order to purchase olos. In the next story, we're going to go with the Girsa of the Gra, which is more or less incorporated already into the Art Scholars edition. Where it says, according to Rabbi Yosef Bun, who we just quoted, Shmuel and Rav Chisda Rabbi Elazar, Shlosham Rudavar Echad. What are these things? Rav Chisda, Rav Chisda, what you just said, is that even though Rav Chisda said that most are Lachma Shel Nazir cave, but Yosef Rabbi Bun said, evidently also even called Rav Chisda, that most are the most Nesachim of the Nazir goes Lunadava. So here we have a case where the Mosar Nesachim, Mosar Kachim goes Lunadava. What's we have a similar case according to Shmuel. Shmuel, Dam Rabbi Yasa, Adana Taman. While I was in Bavel, I heard Shamis Korav Yudah Shol Shmuel. And if a shiklo mace, when somebody said it's a shekel and he died, we had this earlier in the sugya. What happens? It Amalei Yiblin Adava. So see again, a Mosar Kachim, the shekel is left over. Can't believe it anymore. It's max the shekel. It goes in Adava. And the final opinion of that is Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer, because we had a machlokas. Most of Sir Sefer Shlo, we had an issue with Sir Sefer of the Kohen Gadol, Sir Sefer of the Minchas Chayte, but also there, you can't use it for any other purpose. You have to, can't get enough from them. Rabbi Eliezer, Yibla and Adava, they can be brought as an Adava again, a Mosar Kachim, which is being brought for the purpose of the Adava. So all these cases, other people necessarily, not everybody necessarily agrees, but they all hold. We have these cases, these Mosaros, which falls in the Dava. Rabbi Yisrael's statement in Rabbi Chisda, and Shmuel's statement, and Rabbi Elazar's statement. Okay, says Gemara, going on. Mishnah going on. Lochei. Most of Shvuyim, you gathered money for opinion Shvuyim. It goes to be put, and you have left over. It goes to be put to other Shvuyim. But most of Shavui, but that's if it's generically, you gathered for most for Shvuyim in general. But if you gathered for the specific Shavui, same person who was taken captive, then it was designated for him. So it goes also Shavi. It goes for him. It's his money. Most Aniyim, similarly, if you would collect money for the Aniyim in general, so if you donate for these Aniyim, go to other Aniyim. Most Ani, if you collect for a specific Ani, then also Ani. It goes to that Ani. That's to go to him. Most Amesi, I guess even now, if he has more than enough money, nevertheless, the goes to that Ani because he's acquired it. Most Amesi, you can money for his mason. Most then it goes to the mason goes to other mason. Most mason gathered for a specific mace, so then it goes Yorshap. It goes for the heirs because they gathered for that specific mace. Most Ramesi Munach Ad Shiovo Elio. He says most Ramesi should be left until the Yoah Navi comes and determines what we should do with it. Now, the issue here, as the unfortunate point out, is that is it appropriate for the Yorshim to take the money which was gathered for the mace, for his covet, to use it for their own personal purposes? And the Tanakama says yes. Rabbi is Mesupuk. Rabbi Nassan has no suffix. He says most of our mazes left their money. You can't use it for some other purpose, and is not moichel his covet, so to speak, as the Farshim say. So therefore, burning lo nefesh al kibro. You use it to build more elaborate matzeva, because it belongs to the mace and it can't be used for other mason, but they can't go to Yorshim, so therefore they use it in order to build a nefesh al kibro. Okay, that brings us to the end of Tezayin Amud Beis, so we will stop here for today.